You may have heard 3 dirty little letters come out of the mouths of shoot captains and estate owners recently. VAT. It's a stealth tax on our sport, but luckily, people like Douglas Gordon of Saffrey Champness are here to unpick it for you.
We had a landowner, quite a well-known landowner, who had run his shoot for about 25 years and died. And then a couple of years later, on a routine inspection, HMRC decided that in fact he should have been registered in accounting for VAT, tried to register him and collect the back tax. So we had quite an interesting appeal situation there and got a good result in the end. They've been looking at it closely for 10 years now, believe it or not, and it's taken a long time for some cases to work through the tribunal system, but we have now started to see a couple of those appearing. And I think that just tells us that customs are continuing to take an interest in shoots generally, and they're continuing to be concerned that shoots comply with their obligations and pay the tax that's due. So I think the message is no let up, really, from HMRC. First concern is to identify people who should be registered for VAT who are not registered for VAT, and we've seen lots of ways in which HMRC try to identify these people. They will pick them up, for example, from the books of suppliers of poults, or they will look at the books of agents to see who is letting days and who may not be registered, those kinds of things. But in addition to that, of course, once they find out who is or should be registered, then they're looking closely at the way that the shoot is accounting for VAT to pick up on typical problem areas like barter transactions.
The VAT problem creeps up on you. That's why you need Douglas watching your back.
Well, shoots tend to start from the same point of origin, where you have somebody who owns some rights or some land with rights and is an enthusiast for the sport himself. So he goes out and he has a pop and he invites a few friends round, and typically they just contribute the cost of their cartridges. But after a while, the shoot tries to achieve a critical mass, so you need more birds on the ground, you need control of vermin, you need rearing pens and releasing pens, you need proper roadways in, you need transport and all those things. And it starts to become an expensive operation, and the shoot owner then starts to invite contributions from his friends. And provided that's all it is, then that stays as a non-business activity. It's not within the scope of VAT, it's just a private shoot. And often there will be a syndicate of people who shoot regularly, and the landowner will probably refer to those people as his syndicate. But that's not a syndicate in the ordinary meaning or the HMRC meaning of the term. A syndicate isn't actually in business if all they're doing is just sharing costs, because they're not making supplies in a VAT sense to each other or to anybody else. They're just clubbing together to share the cost. Where you tend to get into problems is when either the landowner or even a syndicate starts to let days to other people. And the difficulty for the shoot owner can be in determining when he's crossed the line. If he has got a lot of friends who are contributing, say, that's a private shoot, as I said. If he starts to let 1 or 2 days, then in the view of HMRC, you've changed what was a private shoot into a commercial shoot, because you're now letting, you might be advertising, you're granting rights to some complete stranger to come onto your land to shoot. It's the provision of a service and it's taxable. It's a case of looking at the nature of the income that you get. Is it in the form of, pretty gratuitous contributions from your friends, or are you a member of a syndicate where you are clubbing together, sharing equally in the cost and carrying forward profits and losses to the next year? Or are you simply receiving money to allow somebody to come onto your land to shoot? But for some it can be as simple as staying below the VAT registration threshold, which is 70,000 at the moment, probably just about to go up. And perhaps it's a case of having that shooting activity carried on by some other entity, a partnership or a company or whatever it might be. For others it's a case of just making sure that they've got the structure of the shoot right, so that they're clearly into the right pigeonhole, that they are a syndicate or they are a private shoot or they are a club. And in each of these cases you can avoid a VAT charge provided that you're clear about what you are, you're clear about what the tests are, and that you keep the evidence and the records to support that argument.
You can get in touch with Douglas at Saffrey Champness via the website www.saffrey.com.